Welcome to the Get Offset podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Andrew.
And this is not the guitar buying, trading, modding, fixing, breaking, reviewing podcast. This really is Get Offset. And
Yep.
This week we have very last minute 60 Cycle Hum's one and only Ryan Burke.
Woo!
Yeah, here I am. We thought about getting another Ryan Burke, but it just didn't make any sense. So I'm the only one.
It's not the cider Ryan Burke.
Oh my gosh, that guy.
Yeah. How many times have you been sent that screenshot from the commercial?
Oh, too many. There's a guy who works at Rode Mics named Ryan Burke. And a few
Wow.
people have sent me screenshots of that guy.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's a few Ryans out there.
There's a lot of Emily Harrises. You should ask your Alexa about me.
And Emmy Lou Harris?
No, the Emily Harris, who is a domestic terrorist who is part of the Symbionese Liberation Army, famous for kidnapping and Stockholm syndroming Patty Hearst.
Wait, that's not you?
No, that's not me. But man, wouldn't I look great for being 70 years old?
I feel like I've been sold on a false concept here. I thought that was you the whole time.
You thought that you were aiding in the liberation of the Symbionese army?
No, it's just that's just her inspiration. By the way, if someone wanted to set me free from this prison, Ryan, please help.
So is that who your parents named you after?
No, they didn't know she was a thing because she was not a major part of that. Just nobody cares. But she was on the lam for a long time, and I think it was in the 90s she got arrested, went to prison or whatever. They also I don't think really knew about Emmy Lou Harris.
Right.
I feel like I really should have Googled your name before starting a podcast with you. Is it too late for that?
Yes.
Dang.
You already started it.
If you Google my name, Ryan Burke, the most famous person as far as Google is aware named Ryan Burke is this guy who does just insane club makeup in New York, just insane.
Huh. Well,
yeah, so look up Ryan Burke sometime. It's not going to be me. It's going to be this
amazing.
makeup artist.
I wish I knew a makeup artist because I don't understand that whole thing.
Yeah, it's not like going to the Mac counter. Why do I know so much about makeup?
Do you wear makeup when you do your gear demos?
I do not. I wear it immediately after and before. I wipe it all off. But it's like I don't even know how to explain it. It's weird art makeup.
Yes, it's
concept pieces.
That stuff is really, really cool. I've seen a lot of really cool examples of that because I have friends who generally have that as an interest, and it's impressive. It's impressive. Hold on, I gotta yell at my cat.
Yeah.
All right.
So the plot twist is that her the Stockholm syndrome victim in this situation really is Princess Carrie Fisher.
No, she was playing with her litter. So she's done now.
That's boring. I thought it was going to be something more like she was attacking a mouse or something.
She did just take a dump.
Okay, now I know. I was going to ask, kitty litter or litter of kittens? Now I know. It's kitty litter.
Oh, if Carrie had a litter of kittens, that would be amazing.
Or did she just take a dump on a litter of kittens?
Oh, now it's gross.
Oh,
I didn't know the show was going to be so blue.
Oh, yikes! Well, this is taking a weird turn.
I feel like I think we need to be done with cats and we need to talk about drinks.
Yes. After that drink, I'm just gonna put after what my cat just said, I'm just gonna put my whole nose in this glass of black box red wine.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, that's good wine.
Is it?
It's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard that box wine is better these days. I haven't had it since I was a teenager.
Some of it's better than others for sure. The black box is really quite tasty. It's always great for cooking.
That's true. I was cooking with wine last night.
Yeah, thanks for giving me some of that steak. I made an impromptu trip to Andrew's house and then I got fed, which was pretty neat.
I was in need of a hat.
Yeah, because you gave yours to Tad from the Hold Steady.
And I'm actually wearing that hat right now.
Nice. I'm glad it's getting
Not the one. Yeah, I was gonna wear it out to dinner, and then I changed my mind. So as soon as I got back from dinner, I put it on.
Yeah.
I need a hat too because I gave my hat to someone famous too. Yeah.
I mean, Tad, if you're
I'm like you guys.
Tad's not. I wouldn't describe him as famous. Sorry, Tad.
Ouch.
He's famous to me, and I love Tad and his guitar playing. Also love Steve. I love those guys, but yes, I would not really categorize them as famous.
I think they're famously nice folks.
Yes,
There
that's
you
a good
go.
way to put that. So, what are you drinking, Andrew? I know you're on a bit of a, what do they call it when you spend all the monies?
A spree, a bender.
A spree, a bender.
No, it's not really a bender because I'm consuming at a much lower rate than I'm acquiring. But it's the time of the year where I stockpile on Martzen style beers because that's by far my favorite kind of beer ever. And in the U.S., it's always marketed as Oktoberfest beer or Fest beer.
Yeah.
Prost. Yes.
Indeed, and I lived in Germany at one point in time, and I very quickly grew an appreciation for Martzen styles, and I'm a huge fan. So I every year and all the craft brews come out, I do what I can to try at least once from each of the breweries offerings that I can get my hands on, as well as track down Hofbrauhaus and Polliner Oktoberfest. And I've already successfully gotten both of those, as well as an Eyinger, and I'm still waiting to see if I can track down any other German brews. But yeah, so this evening I have a Fest beer from Occidental Brewing Company. Not accidental, Occidental.
Like Occidental Square Park?
Right. But this one's from Portland, Oregon.
Portland. Actually, all of my freelance employers are in Portland. So, yay, Portland!
Yeah, Portland. We know people there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the honest review is this is actually pretty dang spot on. It's not quite there's a quality to the German brews that there's different. The only way I can explain it is it's cleaner tasting, but this is pretty dang spot on. I got to say this is the best American take on at least getting it right that I've tried so far this season. I'm pretty happy with it.
I'm happy for you.
Oh, it's also like the antithesis to IPAs because it's the least hoppy beer on the planet. It's just straight malt. It's great.
Yeah, I love German beers. Unfortunately, I live in San Diego where everything is just overhopped IPAs. That's just all we have. But I just love those German beers, just like that silky, malty, like smooth beer. It's so good.
It's so drinkable. It's really dangerous.
Oh, it's
but
so
you were just
bad.
in Germany, so I hope you got some good beers there.
Oh yeah, they had the little mini fridges just stocked with Polliner, and we're all just like looking around all day, like waiting for the first person to take one to give us like social permission.
Wouldn't that be breakfast?
To just raid the fridge.
So,
yeah, basically.
Pretty much. I mean,
Prost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat. What else? What? Oh yeah, new things. I played a show last night.
Oh,
that's kind of cool.
Yes, I played a CD release for a woman named Abby Kay. Played guitar, and I think only my second ever time playing banjo live. I've had that banjo for 12 years. It's only my second time playing it live, which was
I have never played banjo live.
Have you ever played banjo?
I once lived with a guy who played banjo, so that's
close enough.
Oh my
it's getting there.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I would play banjo at home when I had a roommate when she had pissed me off and I wanted to not make pleasant noises.
I knew enough to know that it was tuned to open G, which means I could pretty much bar it and just like randomly pick and it would kind of sound okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, yeah.
Also played mandolin on a song, and the whole time I'm playing like the mic'd instruments, so the banjo and the mandolin. I'm like, I can't hear myself at all. So I didn't know if anybody else could hear me. Honestly, I still don't really know. But hey,
it's the mandolin.
I got paid. It's mandolins aren't that loud.
Oh, they're so chimey and bright.
Beautiful, lovely.
They're so hard to miss in a mix.
Yes.
I think that's a fair thing I can say.
That's very fair.
Without being rude. Same roommate also had a mandolin. He actually still owes me a mandolin. That's a completely different story. But he does owe me a mandolin at some point. Caleb, if you're listening to this, you owe me that
Give me the
mandolin that you
mandolin.
sold.
Give it. Give it. Give it.
You
Yeah.
stand outside his house. Where's my mandolin?
Give it.
Okay, so the long story short, I won it in a game of poker in our dorm room in college.
Nice.
And it was one of those, he bet because he thought he was going to win, but he didn't actually want to bet it, and so he never actually gave it
That's
to me.
garbage.
And I let him off
Yeah,
the
it's
hook.
a nice thing to do to let the
Yeah.
friend off the hook. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. It had a really nice like flamed top on it. That's like the ultimate dad thing to say. Sorry, but sorry to have you.
Yeah,
put you guys
it's
through that.
it was fun. I got paid, so I got paid to play instruments. I'm not 100% sure people heard, but yay! I love making money. And then
Yay.
afterwards, we went out with a friend who's in town and got home very, very late. So I got much less accomplished today than I had planned. But I did film 2 pedal demos, so there's that. Yes.
Nice.
But you just didn't
Yes.
accomplish a whole
Yeah,
lot.
I like the format of the pedal demos I'm doing right now because I don't feel compelled to put on makeup. I wonder how many of those guys put on makeup, like the guys who do it, the demos.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean,
Like honestly, if nothing else, blue powder that makes you less shiny.
sure. Yeah, I didn't see anyone busting out the makeup in any of the events I've been at, but I didn't exactly follow people into the bathroom either. So
The only person I could think of that I'd be curious about is Jay Leonardo. Because he's just got really great skin, and I have to know, is that just really naturally that good? Like, is
yeah,
his
he's
skin
got
really
good
that
skin.
good? Because I'm really jealous. That's really unfair.
Honestly, if my partner were on like camera a lot doing those things, I'd probably get him a little bit of makeup just to keep it from being too shiny, because like that's the easiest thing to take care of and really the thing that people more notice. Though I do feel like if I didn't wear makeup on screen, people would probably notice and think I was making a statement.
Yeah, I have worn makeup in demos when I've had like a huge ingrown hair or a blemish or something like that. Yeah, I've had my wife fix me up. But I mean, other than that, for like the commercial video work that I do, we always have a makeup kit with us just in case. Like, if we need
just
to
a little bit of blush to make you look a little bit more alive. I mean, a lot of those guys like beards are so in, so I feel like a lot of the guys have beards, but just a little bit of rosiness in the cheeks, make you look a little less gaunt.
Yeah,
I thought that's what the whiskey in the green room was for.
Oh my gosh.
A little bit of eyeliner to make those baby blues pop,
Them baby blues.
Oh, you're just talking about this. We were talking about this earlier today, talking about eyeliner. Like because I like used to listen to and still listen to a lot of like pop punk and emo kind of stuff, and I always wanted to wear eyeliner, but I'm so scared to death of anything going near my eyes. I don't know if I could do it. Like the idea of contacts, or like anytime I've ever had eye drops, like I have to it takes me half an hour to work myself up to doing one eye. It's like it's so
men are
agonizing.
such babies.
So
I'm not gonna fight that.
No, I mean that's funny.
So we
I'm
had,
sorry, just like yes.
Ryan wants to tell a story.
I have a
Come on.
story.
Andrew, let Ryan tell the story.
Can I tell a story, please? So I've got this band that we used to play with back in the day, and they all used to wear eyeliner, and they were all going to come through town on like a little tour and stay with us in my house, and I'll crash on couches. And my wife was super worried that their eyeliner was going to get all over the couches and stuff.
That's a fair concern, because sometimes like guys like to wear the makeup but don't like doing the things to take it off, and same with like growing out the hair and not taking care of it, or like owning a brush and basic things that like one should have when one has long hair.
Yeah, thankfully they were past that stage in their life, so no eyeliner.
Yes.
On the couches.
Oof. Or maybe just very good mascara.
Yeah, maybe.
Yes, that waterproof stuff doesn't come out for nothing.
I think they were born with it.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, nice. Anything else, Andrew? Anything else with you that's new?
Not a whole lot actually.
Still just waiting impatiently for that Jennings guitar to come in.
Patiently, thank you. I am whatever that mastermind needs to do to run his business well, I am well behind.
Yes.
Are you getting a custom deal or are you getting a Navigator?
I'm getting a custom deal. I'm going all out on
Nice.
this.
Yeah.
Voyager Deluxe.
So here's the thing: is I've played, but I've never owned a Made in America guitar.
What? Wait, even your Jazz Master, that was not a made in America?
Nope. The closest thing I got is my Seagull acoustic, which is made in Canada.
I mean, it's
Those are
North.
such great guitars. Those are North America.
It's North America, but it's not America.
It's not America, and it's certainly not made by Chad Channing. So I was like, you know what? I love all of this, and Chad's a great guy, and he does great work, and I've got ideas of what I want to make happen for like a dream guitar of sorts. So I went in for it,
Nice.
and yeah, it's gonna be rad.
Side note: I'm going to start calling my made in Mexico Fenders American guitars.
Yes, because they are. It's North America. I think
That's still North America.
I think it was like
Yeah.
some Canadians I was talking to, and they got like real mad. Like they were like, "My gosh, what they were saying that it's confusing that we call ourselves." I'm sorry, I've got that story all backwards. It was at the Vancouver Guitar Festival, but it was like a German builder. He said he thought it was confusing how because they just call it All America or something like that.
Right.
So they weren't they didn't understand why Americans call themselves America and Americans when it's all North America and it's all South America, so it's all America.
Right.
And then the Canadians understood,
And
like, well, it's the
Central
United
America.
States of America. Like, you wouldn't call like, it would be dumb to call yourself a United Statesian because there are more states that are
Yeah.
united, I suppose. I don't know. Who cares? I'm sorry. That was one of the
Who
worst
cares?
stories I've ever told on this podcast.
Moral
I
of the
doubt
story
that's
is that
true.
Americans like to take on the accomplishments of others and claim
Yes.
them as their own.
Wait.
That's pretty much what I got out of
Sure.
that.
That's nice. That's good. Sponsors. Should we go ahead and get the sponsors since the topic's going to be hot?
Hot
Yes.
Topics. Oh,
Hot
speaking of which, I think my
topic.
band, Sunday Crush, just booked a Halloween show at Numo's opening for Taco Cat, and we've been throwing around ideas for like group costumes, and one of them was mall goth.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh,
That's amazing.
do I still have that white studded belt? Ah.
And back to the eyeliner conversation.
There's only one guy in the band, and he'd be wearing all the makeup.
Just got to watch a bunch of early Tim Burton and
Yes.
you're all set.
Yes. Watch Caroline a bunch of times. Listen to some Marilyn Manson.
Oh my
and
gosh.
AFI.
Ooh.
The Used. Yeah, that'll be fun. Sponsors?
Sponsors. Well, sponsor for this show is Jennings Guitars, but we're gonna have Ryan take this
We're
one.
gonna make them work.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you want a really cool guitar that's made in the real America, the America that matters? Check out Jennings Guitar. I've personally got a Navigator, and as soon as I got that thing, I realized I don't need any other telly in my life, and I actually have been selling off guitars that kind of have Telecaster pickups in them. I'm just like the Navigator just does it. This is my Telecaster guitar forever now. Forever Telecaster.
Well, maybe my next Jennings will have to be a Navigator, but that's not what I'm going with this time around.
Nah.
I'm going with an offset.
The Voyager Deluxe in 50/50 colors.
The Voyager is just, they're so amazing.
They're so
like
attractive.
all the guitars he makes are just dialed in. I love those things.
So Ryan, you'll appreciate this, but you want to know what colors I'm doing?
Well, you said orange already. You said 50/50 orange, right?
Yeah. So it's orange, but then we're doing a dog hair finish with white pore filler.
Oh, nice.
With a white pick guard, double bound, white body.
Yeah.
Rosewood fretboard with a white binding.
Nice.
Matching headstock.
Yeah, he does the dog hair thing.
He really
nicely,
does.
too.
One of the
yeah.
best at it, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm pretty good at it, but yeah. Cool.
You just like put glue on a guitar and spread dog
That's
hair all over it.
exactly what I do. You know, it keeps some of the pests away. It keeps the mice away
Yeah.
because they smell the dog hair.
Yeah, it's not really hypoallergenic
No.
though.
Yeah, but where's all the cat hair? Where's all the cat
Ugh.
hair finishes?
Well, my cat actually has like that perfect dog hair look on the back of her neck. She's just got those couple grays from anxiety, I assume. So I remember just like petting her. I'm like, oh, that's what I want a guitar to look like. My cat. Crazy cat lady. So, topics?
Yeah.
Topics. Yeah, so the topic is we see so many dog hair finishes. Why do we
Ah!
care about the cat hair finishes?
Nice.
Sorry, that was a little cattier than it needed to be.
So,
Oh my
a little
god.
cattier. Oh my god, that's a bad dad joke. Sad dad joke.
That was really not like I wasn't even trying at all there. That was really
Yeah,
low.
sure.
That was a really low
So
bar.
this week's topic came from me making a salty little comment in the 60 Cycle Hum group, as many topics start.
Emily, you
So
salty?
I wouldn't say I was salty. I feel like sassy, maybe. Sassy.
I see.
So in case you haven't watched or listened to this week's 60 Cycle Hum, hit pause, go to 60 Cycle Hum. I think it's around like minute 35 or something.
Yeah, fast forward. You want to jump ahead of all the garbage.
I mean, you can get to that, but if you want to get to it,
it's right after the Chase Bliss audio
yes,
sponsorship.
Yes, that's
spot.
what I like to have.
So, sorry, Joel, but I'm gonna recommend we skip right past that.
No, start with that. Start with that.
Yeah.
Buy a pedal, and then listen to the episode.
But so
in that order,
there was this. Ryan explains it pretty well. There was an event called 42 Guitar Street, and I guess some
Gear Street.
God, I keep calling it Guitar Street.
Close enough. I mean, we kept calling it 42 TGU while we were there.
That's worse. That's worse. So they had the shirt made up, or a sweater that had all the faces of all the demo folks who were there, and you look at the shirt and you're like, that's funny, and then you look closer and you're like, huh, a lot of white dudes on this shirt.
There were 2 Filipinos on that shirt.
Yes, that's important. That's better than nothing, and they're also very, very talented musicians and YouTubers.
Pretty much the 2 most talented guys there.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, most entertaining guitarists, I'll say that.
Yes.
Like, they're like real musicians instead of just freaking ridiculous waste of time noodlers like most of us.
My name's Ryan, and here's my clean tone.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. So I made a comment like, "Wow, that is not diverse," and it started this whole discussion. There were some things said. There were some points that were made and then changed. But basically, what it comes down to is there were no women at this event, and
not as YouTubers,
not as personalities, and
right.
for the record, it's not about the one event. It's just that one event's a good example of looking at these events and it leaving one wanting for some diversity. So I just want to say it because I feel like that's a point that gets missed sometimes. Is it's not about the one thing; it's about the entire ecosystem of all of these things, and it's a pattern more than anything. And there was some video that Henning did where he said he said that Reaver wasn't coming because there weren't any women, and that there just aren't any women, and that if there are any women doing it, he'd invite them 10 times or something like that. And then he went back and had a comment to me that said something like, well, why should I invite women if women aren't the right fit, or something like honestly something different, something that felt different. And I got a couple different reasons about why reverb.com wasn't there. I don't really care about that part, but yeah, it's not, it doesn't matter. So in 60 Cycle Hum, on 60 Cycle Hum I should say, Ryan and Steve kind of talk about this issue a little bit. It's a nice segment. I don't know, Ryan, do you want to start by mentioning any points that you feel like you meant to say and forgot to? Do you want Andrew and I's take on the discussion first, or how would you like to play this?
I think the first thing I want to say, just as like an added commentary to the topic that I just watched us do, even though I recorded it, like I watched it and realized, what I was saying in it and like kind of what my gut instinct was. I remember coming off of recording it, which was like 4 days ago. But I want to make it clear that I wasn't trying to like discourage anyone, women or otherwise, from entering into this industry. I think I leaned in a bit heavy, like talking about how just awful YouTube commenters can be and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, and how much work this industry can be, which it is. But I didn't. None of that was meant to dissuade people. It was just like, come in here, get into the industry. If you're excited about it, then do the work, and deal with whatever's going on in your own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I didn't want to.
yeah, and one point that you made that I would like to reiterate, because I think it's going to have to be said a lot of times before women just like believe it, is that
Right.
it's a very welcoming community on that backside. Like the
Yes.
people in the gear industry, like yeah, there are some people who aren't nice and are backwards, um, but everyone's going to play nice with you. There are a lot of people there who want to help you, um, myself included. Not that I'm super important. Um, but it's not the kind of thing where the other kids in the playground are going to hate you. They no.
No.
It's really not like that. It's more like it is a community, and it's a welcoming community. It's really not that hard to get involved if you are just, yourself and enthusiastic and in it for kind of the right reasons, that being the love of gear and music. So I just want to say that again, because I think one thing with women is that we hear this a lot, and then we've had so many experiences in our lives where we've been told that, and it just hasn't been true at all. So yeah, there's
Sure.
that idea
Sure.
of like, yeah, I've heard that one before. Everybody says that. Like everybody says, oh, it's fine, it's great for women, we just love everybody, yada yada yada. For us to find out that's really not at all true. So there is that baggage that I think a lot of women especially have, and probably like a lot of people of color have as well. So yeah, there's that.
Hmm.
I think we've all had that experience with, um, a man that we're either friends with or like a mentee to, or someone that we look up to, and we think that they're welcoming and great, and then they do something horrible to us. So yeah, that's a real thing to
Sure.
think about. But yeah, I think that this is
Yeah.
not one of those cases.
No, I think as far as being in the YouTuber community in this specific niche industry of guitar YouTubers, like when we have these events, whether it be Henning Sing or TGU or the GitCons, which I didn't go to, but I've heard about how they were. It's like we all sit around after we're done with the work and we just drink and eat, and we're basically like unionizing and having like union meetings about like, okay, what do we do about Chinese companies writing us, like what are you guys charging, what's our worth, like just
Hmm.
like the business aspect of it as well as like the social aspect of it. And it's just like, I mean, at the TGU ones, there were women there. There's Mary Spender was there. Sarah Longfield was at the first one. Philippa Q was at them. Shoot, who was the other girl? I can't remember. And at this last event, there were women there too, but they were not the YouTube personalities.
Right.
There was brand representation there. There
Hmm.
were people there who were, whether they be hired or volunteered to help run the operation, and they were spending the same time with all of us, hanging out behind the scenes, having drinks, having dinners, and we are all just part of the same community,
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I can't speak for them. What maybe they had a different experience, but from my perspective, they were there with us.
Yeah, that's something I would like to mention. It kind of spins off from a different point, but the idea that you all go to these events that are, largely male, largely white, and then you have these conversations that are networking conversations. They're just like making sure everybody's like, if you know what everyone else is charging, then you know what you're worth in a way. Because
Yeah.
then you're not undercharging, and that's something women do a lot. So
Uh
so
huh.
when women don't get to go to these things, and like obviously you're not like, they're not official meetings with, you know, notes or minutes. And so then we don't know these things because we weren't invited, and maybe we weren't invited because we don't have as big of an audience. And if we don't have as big of an audience, we don't get invited to these things. But going to these things is what can help grow your audience a lot. It really does become this cycle where the exclusion, or someone not trying to reach out and trying to like support the diversity by, you know, putting their money where their mouth is or anything like that, and just trying to help make this bigger by like, everybody, I think, has had that little uh, assistance when they needed it, in some aspect of their lives.
Yeah.
And I think that if we really do want more women in this community overall, then someone needs to make an effort to say, okay, well, like Anne, who does these great ambient demos and has, you know, over 1,000 subscribers, kind of on her own, doing her own thing. Uh, if she's not like, if someone reaches out to her, and even though her audience isn't as big, um, like that's huge.
Who's this?
A-
Is this a
Anne
person?
Sewell, oh gosh, she's got one of those last names I just forget what they are. Andrew, do you remember Anne's last name? You're on mute.
Sulikowski.
Sulikowski, yeah.
I just said it like 8 times. I forgot I was on mute.
Yeah.
Is that the name of her channel?
Yes. I'll send you I think actually I might have posted a link in that thread, but I'll send it to you, and I'll put it
That
in
was
the show notes. And there are a few other women doing this thing too. And that's why magazines and communities like She Shreds exist, because, and like all of these, like Lilith Fair and that kind of thing, started not
Sure.
because we just want an all women thing, but because we weren't really being included in other places. Not
Sure.
like, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of this idea of um like, are there not more women because there aren't any women who are as good at anything in the world, or is it because maybe they just didn't have those opportunities? And when people say things like, oh well, we should invite who's best, not who's not because someone's a woman, that is saying to me that person assumes that a woman can't be best just because they don't know about them.
And also, that kind of statement is completely out of ignorance, because if they've ever seen one of my demos, I am far from the best at anything. Like, if it was based on who's best, like, I wouldn't be at any of these things. It's not about that at all. It's about numbers. It
Yes.
really is. It's about audience size. That's what the brands care about.
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
if you just are the worst, like you can't even play at all, but you somehow have an audience online, brands are going to want to get with you. That's
Right.
just the
Right,
reality.
right. So here's where and so that's part of the conversation where I start to, because I haven't been to any of these things, and I'm still relatively new to the content creator world of all of this, and
Uh-huh.
I so I definitely have more of an agnostic viewpoint. Standing back and looking back, I didn't get in on the comment section on that sweater post. I wasn't at the event, so I'm just standing back and kind of just observing and seeing what's going on. And one of the things that has me scratching my head a little bit is uh, a couple of the comments I've heard at a couple different points is like a lot of the folks that were at that event have a lot of the same viewership base, and so there's some
Sure.
Yeah.
crossover where that you guys got to build off of each other. But the thing that's got me scratching my head is, well, what I mean, maybe I'm
Like,
misreading what the
how
point of the
big
event
is the
was.
middle of the Venn
I'm almost
diagram? Is that kind? I think that's kind of what you're getting at.
well, right, and so that's kind of the direction I'm going. But in terms of if one of the goals, and maybe I'm wrong here on this being a goal of the event, if one of the goals is diversification of your viewership, it would make sense to me, therefore, to have a diversification of the folks that you invite. And so that just, and I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent. And what I'm
Sure.
saying is, I think there was a missed opportunity there, and maybe I could be completely off base. I think there's a lot of value to be had in the diversity that this community has, because I think I think it's misleading to look at the diversity of the content creators that have popularity. I don't think that's a fair representation of the folks who are watching across the community, and certainly not a fair representation of the demographics that are growing as much more
Yeah, that we know
quickly
is
than
growing.
others.
Sure. Yeah, something I'll say for Henning. I'm not going to defend anything else he said. He can defend himself if he wants to. But something I can say for Henning is that he has a heart to grow this industry from the bottom up. like a lot of the channels that are at this thing, like yeah, sure, Phil McKnight's there, sure, you know, like Glenn is there or whatever, and they have hundreds of thousands or whatever. But the vast majority of channels there are under 50K. There's a lot you know, under 10K. Like he gets those channels there, and you know the cost of transporting these people is significant. So most of the smaller channels are
Mm-hmm.
local European channels,
Right.
but he doesn't. I you know, one of the reasons he got frustrated with some other events is that the other people involved wanted to get the biggest channels they could, and he's like, no, that's not the spirit of this. So, I mean, that's something to think about, is that there is someone on that team of like, let's get the people who are doing the correct work, not the people who are doing the have getting the biggest audiences. Because a lot of time the channels with the big audiences, they've moved into more just general kind of
Right.
entertainment style formats. Like you know, Stevie T doesn't have any place at one of these events.
I
Like,
don't
what is he
know.
going to do?
Oh,
You know, do you know Steve Terryberry?
yeah.
What would he do at one of these events? It wouldn't make any sense. Like, and I think one of the things that kind of limited who was or wasn't at 42 Gear Street was that it was very narrow criteria as far as just dialing in like people who have a strong emphasis on doing gear demos. It's not songwriting. It's not, you know, like you know, like live chats or something like that. Is almost strictly gear demos. And then people who are on camera personalities, like someone like Knobs, huge channel, huge demo channel. He's never on camera. You don't hear his voice. You don't even see his
Mm-hmm.
hands. What is he going to do in an event with live video rooms where everyone's
Man,
interacting?
but he would probably be like Prince because no one ever talks to him. Like, oh my God, that's the guy from the thing.
Right,
I'd be
right,
stoked for that. But I get what I totally get that point. I think that is a valid point. Um, and when I do think about the women I know who do gear demos, I think perhaps intentionally we're not including ourselves in those demos all the time.
right.
I don't like I'm the pedal demos I'm doing right now are no talking because I can do them one or two takes. It's less editing,
Yeah,
and just to kind of like build something up.
but
And
you,
I have the podcast, sure, but I know that when I'm
yeah,
on camera, and I know this from like even the lessons videos I've done versus my written lessons content that I've done, it's just the response is very different. Yeah, and
sure.
pretty normal looking lady
But
and
even,
still get like the
oh,
weird stuff still happens. I still have a lot of messages I just delete right out of my inbox. Like, yeah.
yeah, and
Hey, how
talking
you
Yeah,
doing?
hello beautiful. I just want to respond I'm married to
talking
all of
to
them, but I never do.
talking to the women who have been at previous events, like the comments that they get, because we all sit around and just share like our troll comments or whatever. The comments that they get are like in a just completely different league than,
Yes, they're different.
yeah. And you know, there's a few people in the community who've had people like dox their kids' schools and stuff like that, awful things like
Yikes.
that. But
Never okay.
that is like a rarity, and
Hmm.
the common things that women get in their comment section is just like mind-boggling. Like,
Yeah.
so I
No, it's a very different bad. Like when you said that, maybe women aren't doing this as much because of the comments they know they're gonna get. Yeah, I think that's potentially valid. I don't think it necessarily is gonna stop a woman who really wants to do this, but
right.
um, it'll make you think a few times before you do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if men had to live that reality, I think there would be a lot less men on YouTube. I
Hmm.
think there would, because it's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's real stuff. Like to feel threatened in a
Right,
real,
right.
Yes.
Well,
in a real way.
And thank you for
on that
saying
point,
threatened.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
I think a big difference in the negative comments that men get and the negative comments that women get is there's um that underlying threat of violence in a lot of them, because I think that a lot of women know a woman who's been stalked,
yeah,
and a lot you see all the time women stalked and murdered, like just even female celebrities who have been victims of their fans, from
sure.
like the newscaster level to movie star. It's different. It's a very different number.
Yeah,
It,
I think it's a valid thing to think about, but I'd hope that anyone listening out there who wants to start a channel, like, don't let it stop you. Figure out
No.
a way to protect yourself, how to be safe. Get yourself a PO box so
Yeah.
when companies or whoever ships you stuff that's not going to your house, whatever you got to do to feel safe, like just do it.
Pay the extra money to get your domain name via proxy
Sure.
versus with your phone number and address and email address. Learned that
Yeah.
one a weird way in college, but yeah.
Yeah. Don't ever mention where you are. Don't mention what time it is. Like it sounds like you gotta like hide
Yeah.
yourself. Like what's like you gotta, like Liam Neeson yourself from getting kidnapped or something. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
and I mean that kind
You
of thing
know.
is rare. And I think, that kind of plays into the reason women tend to like true crime more than men do. It almost makes us feel better to know, like, okay, here's what happened to this person, so here's how I can protect myself against it. And that kind of thing.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing. I could talk about true crime for hours. But yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, I know it's bad, but I don't, because I have more self-awareness than that. Yeah.
well, and I think this goes to a point that was made in the 60 Cycle Hum episode is about how some women have androgynous names or personalities on the internet because that's their way of opting out of inviting that in.
I
Yeah.
do in
Oh.
a lot of online communities, not the non-Facebook ones. Gender neutral. My Reverb profile has my husband's picture and a male name.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah. My wife, like anytime she signs up for whether it be Reddit or some other thing or whatever, it's like she picks a fictitious name that could go either way. Like who would know? So
Yeah.
it's like you don't want to invite that attention,
No.
whether the person giving it thinks it's positive or not.
Yeah.
Like you just don't want it. You don't want it. It's
No.
uninvited.
It's not the best. Yeah.
No.
To kind of switch things around a little bit. Um, there was one thing that you mentioned about your viewership being overwhelmingly
Yeah.
male. And I have a couple of reasons like that could be. One is truly that more often than one would think, Google guesses genders.
Sure.
So if they guess it based on your interests and the other things that you like. So I think a lot of women who play guitar have other very traditionally masculine interests, including playing the guitar. Um, that's Google.
Well, probably
Yeah.
assumes like if you're into guitar, it's like, oh, we got a guy
Yeah, that's
here.
literally exactly what it is. So like I look at
Yeah.
my channel, the Get Offset channel, knowing that uh, a lot of our traffic has been driven by groups on Facebook that only have women in them, and then I compare that
Hmm.
because I can see like where did this traffic come from, and it still thinks they're all men. So I would like
Right.
to say like that's when you look at the fact that like Fender says that 50% of new guitars are bought by women who buy them online largely, you have to
Yeah.
understand that these women are researching this product in some way.
They're out there.
They're watching gear demos, they're reading,
They're
reviews on Premier
watching
Guitar.
you.
They are watching you. We watch, we remember,
You
we
hear the
never forget.
lambs clarice.
Well, I mean, would it be reasonable with that perspective in mind to say like, hey, if you're a woman who watches demos, like whether it be uncomfortable or not, make yourself known to maybe not in the comment section, but to the brand. Like make yourself known to the brands
Yeah.
that are marketing through demo
Yeah.
videos.
I think that would be, a good thing to do. I try to tell people where I heard about them, when I buy things.
Hmm.
Right,
Um,
right.
so I think, yeah, I think that's reasonable enough. I but that's kind of going to your point too, that the people who watch these channels are the ones who start them, and a lot of guys watch them. Representation is so important. I did not think about buying guitar pedals, and I've talked about this before, until like I started seeing women used in ads for them. Like I'd had a couple, but
Hmm.
like my teenage guitar hero was Donna R. Allison Robertson from the Donnas, and she didn't play any pedals. She just played straight a Les Paul through a Marshall stack. So I thought, I didn't have a Marshall stack. Clearly, I had a PV that I think my dad bought from the high school. Um,
PV.
this is 4 by 12. I was like, oh, I just play straight through the amp. I don't need. I must not. I don't need pedals. Donna R doesn't. So that's. And then when women started being used in those ads, it's just your eye is drawn to things and you like things that look like you look. This is that's
Sure.
science. That's just basic psychology.
Yeah.
So my
So
eye in ads is drawn towards ads that have women because that it me.
right. So I want to jump in here, and I want to
Yes.
steer this conversation a little bit here. While we have Ryan here on the topic of 42 Gear Street, and I want to be a little presumptuous here and say, let's create this hypothetical little thought experiment here. If we were Henning, if we were someone else who's putting on an event, what like how do we do this differently? How do we improve on what seems like a great start to a model that's doing some good for the gear industry? Like, where can we take this?
I honestly, I think it comes down to people who are fans of channels and people who know of channels that fit the bill, reaching out and recommending them. Like Henning didn't know who I was when he did the first GetCon. Like I just wasn't on his map, and then someone there told him about me, or someone at another thing told him about me, and he looked me up, and he was like, "I had no idea about you. Like, do you want to come to this next thing?" Like, he's looking for people, and I think a lot of like that video he made and stuff. I think that was based in frustration of him not being able to find people that he wanted to find
So then he
and
just
not being
says that
aware.
they don't exist. I mean, I think we both agree that that was
Well,
flippant.
it was flippant, but I also, from hanging out in person, like that's kind of his sense of humor, like
Yeah.
weird.
But yeah,
Right,
but
right.
like
Oh, and
I'm sorry,
I
Andrew,
would
I
like to
gotta
give.
like guitar like, there's another guitar
Sure.
podcast that did this little Instagram video where like, oh, people are asking us why we don't have any women builders on, and he just shrugs and says, there aren't any. There just really aren't any. And oh my gosh, this guy's comments were immediately just like lists of women, binders full of women, and
Right,
just
right.
like, I mean, when you say that kind of thing, you better have done your damn
Sure,
homework. Like, you better be positive that
sure.
you did the math right. Like, you carried the numbers around and you inverted them or whatever you're supposed to do with math. I'm actually good at math. I
Yeah.
just don't feel like I'm just it's late.
I'm good at
Well,
math.
the
S-
the the vibe I was getting from it was that there were women that were invited and they
Mm-hmm.
couldn't or wouldn't come, and I think he was frustrated
Yeah.
by that. So
right,
I
right.
think I think he said things that were I think he said it the wrong way. I think he made jokes in the wrong direction, and he was flippant, and it wasn't the right way
No.
to handle it. But
Yeah, because that's just such a. I know people joke about the word trigger. It's such a triggering thing for women to hear. Like, okay, you just
sure.
said I don't
Well, it's definitely
exist. Like, that's neat.
yeah, it's definitely not helping the
No.
situation. I mean, it's like, like I told you in a chat, like, one of the people at one of the YouTubers was like, "This is why we don't have women here." Like he yelled out in the middle of one of our conversations, and it was, like a
Classic.
Yeah.
tension breaking moment. So
So yeah, I mean, I I know you well enough, Ryan, to know that I think I trust what you say in terms of like judging other people's characters, and I want to give Henning full benefit of the doubt here, and that forgiveness can be had. Moving on from that, like, how do we, like, where do we move forward on this though? Because you
yeah,
said that Henning has a vested interest in making this community better, and we do too. So I think in that sense, we've got at least a base goal of where we want to take this community, and just in the
sure.
general term of betterment. I think there are a lot of values that we can find that we can share in that, and I'm a fan of finding common ground. So running off of that, like, where do we take that? Because I can understand. I I don't agree, but I can understand where someone could reach that point of frustrating, throwing their hands up in the air and saying, "Well, I don't know." It, do I like
Well,
that? Honestly,
yeah.
I mean, I don't like that,
God,
but I
it's
can see
like
where
when the
like someone
president of
might
the
get to
Grammys
that
said that
point.
women need to step up in music. Just like, oh my God. That guy lost his job because of that comment. The
Right,
president
right.
of Daenerys.
I'm this industry is so based on self starters. Like there's really no one but yourself keeping you from starting a channel. But like as far as getting invited to these things, I really think it does just come down to numbers. Just like present your numbers to the person planning it. And also, if you have a command of numbers, if you know people who do your own event. Like if you can track down sponsors who are willing to pay travel costs, there's no reason you can't throw one of these events and throw it exactly the way you want to. I'm thinking about doing like my own like
Yeah.
solo version of these things and doing like travel stuff where it's just me and I have sponsors. Like I've got sponsors covering,
Yeah.
like my summer NAM coverage and stuff like that. The brands are out there. The brands want a piece of the pie. There are people talking to major U.S. retailers right now about doing something similar in the States. So keep your ear to the ground. If you're a channel, you've got the numbers, you've got the fire in your belly and the motivation, like get out there and fight for it.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking from us, like we definitely plan on fighting for it. It is, but like, going back to what we said before, I think that the onus also lies. I know that you said like you're not gatekeepers at 60 Cycle Hum, uh, but there is a gate, and there are
Sure.
people who can. I think if people really want to see people who already have these big channels, and I know that people are always going to them and asking for advice and yada yada yada. I think if you're one of those people and you really want to see more diversity, maybe you look for the people who you think are promising, you know, and the more diverse group that you think are promising, and
Sure.
just anyone in general. But specifically talking about women and people of color, uh, reaching out to them and offering to help and kind of taking them under your wing, because like if you're a musician, we know that's how music works a lot of the time. Like
Yeah.
you can work and you can work and you can work, you're probably only going to get to a certain level until those relationships happen. And a lot of
Yeah.
those relationships, like the best ones, are the most are the person at top finding you and reaching out their arm and just like touching the tip of your finger to the tip of their finger,
Sure. Sure.
ET style. And I think
Well, also
that's important.
I'll certainly say that, and that anyone is welcome to reach out to me anytime they want to. Also, all our rates for the marketing on 60 Cycle Hum are public.
Yeah, I
They're all
appreciate
on our
that.
they're all on our website. Most channels don't do that because they want to wheel and deal on a project specific basis. But I'm just kind of like, here's a flat rate, and I'm trying to get as big of a fee as I can. I'm not being shy about that. So like go look at my rates, look at my numbers, various places, do the math, figure out what you're worth, and
Hmm.
it'll probably work out pretty decent.
Yeah,
You know.
I definitely like that, and I appreciate that you do that. I don't think enough
Well, and I also want to
podcasts
throw out, I want also want to throw out that Ryan, I'm not sure if everyone knows this, but has been incredibly kind to us as
do.
a
Yes,
podcast in the last almost coming up on a year now. And Ryan, you've been a great help to us on it several occasions. So yeah,
absolutely,
like Ryan's a great guy. I would say I want what I want to say is that I think the onus goes both ways,
it
and I'm
does.
hesitant to try and put the onus on the people who are already like spending 80 hours a week making content to then also
Yeah.
add the project of taking on apprentices. I'm not saying that they should or should not. What I think what I would like to see is more of that, um, more of the apprenticeship type of culture coming from both directions. And I think
Sure.
we're headed that direction as a culture. And I think there's so many good things that can come
Yeah,
out of that. And I want to look at it less of a who's responsible for what,
yeah.
more of a if we can push this culture a little bit farther, I think we're going to see a lot more of this happen organically, as the
Yeah.
church guys like
Well,
to say.
Right.
like my thought is if you want to be a part of this, like if you're a woman or a person of color and you want to be a part of this, even though you don't necessarily see yourself in the people who are doing well right now, like start it. Just start it. Start creating content. Just do the thing. I put it off for a long time because I wanted it to be, perfect. I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. So
Yep.
like that is a big part of where your onus lies. Reaching out to people, also a big part of that. Joining the community, becoming vocal. and from the bigger guys out there, it doesn't have to be as much as like an apprenticeship. It doesn't have to be like, let's schedule a
No.
one-on-one every week. Just shouting people out goes a very long way. And
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate that. It's something that 60 Cycle Hum has done for us, on no small level. And 60 Cycle Hum was the first guitar podcast I really listened to, so that's the truth.
I mean, it sounds selfish and cheap, but we have the the thought that the tide rises all ships, and if we can rise the ships around us, it's going to help us out.
Absolutely.
Like if we can make my goal for years now has been to make this new guitar media podcast and YouTube and whatnot as valuable to the brands monetarily as they see magazine advertisement
Or at least they used
and
to.
right, right. No, but like they still pay magazine
Yeah.
ad rates because they just don't want to not be
Mhm.
there. All the brands should be looking at guitar podcasts and guitar YouTube channels saying, I don't want to not be there. I need to figure out a way to be in that space. And so the more of us, the merrier, the more value we can bring to this industry, the better. The more diversity we can bring, the better, because brands are really thinking about
Yeah.
that right now. They
Oh
are.
yeah. And
They
they should
want it.
be. The smart ones are, I should say.
I mean,
Even some of the dumb ones that I've
yeah.
dealt with have really uh turned it around in the way they talk and think about it in the past 12 months. It's kind of amazing.
Why wouldn't you want to expand? Why wouldn't you want to double your potential audience?
Because there's that risk
You know,
of, they think of making that really, for some reason, angry and defensive 10% mad.
yeah, they think that mad guy in the comment section who's
The loudest.
the loudest is gonna not buy something. He was already not gonna buy something. Like, you
No.
think any of these people who are addicted to guitar buying and gear buying are gonna stop? No, they're gonna keep
No.
gear buying.
No.
It doesn't matter. They still buy friggin' Pepsi and Coke and McDonald's, whatever, after they saw whatever offensive, in air quotes, offensive Super Bowl commercial they saw or whatever.
Oh,
They still
the
buy.
snowflakey things, yeah.
They still buy all that stuff
You're saying
because
they still buy Gillette razors?
absolutely.
Oh yeah, they're not gonna
Y-
stop shaving.
Yeah, no, they go to the store and they're looking at everything like, well, they had that commercial, but I've been using that brand. I don't trust anything else. And they
Yeah.
still buy it.
Yeah, totally.
And I think the brands are going to figure that out. They're like, oh yeah, it dipped for a day, and then everyone just kept buying stuff. But then we gained a new market.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
so why wouldn't
the
we?
growing
Why would
market?
why wouldn't we continue to market to everyone that could buy our product? Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Why would we want to piss off any of our potential audience?
Right.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think that's probably a pretty good.
There's that
place.
perspective.
Oh no,
there's
not a good place to end it.
no. I just did the whole thing where I was muted again for a second because there's some
Ah.
background noise. No, I think there's that perspective. There's also the perspective that I'm inclined to take as someone who doesn't. I mean, this is a lot easier for me to say when I don't have as much skin in the game, but screw the numbers. Let's just do the right thing to do the right thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Like,
yeah.
I don't have a multi-million-dollar company on the line in terms of my marketing base, but so it's a lot easier for me to say that when there's not my salary on the line. But I mean, screw it. Like, this is where the world is. Not
It's the
only is
right
this
thing
where
to
the world
do.
is going, but screw that. Like, be the
Yeah.
change that you want to see in the world. Am I allowed to say cheesy pithy quotes?
Yeah, as long as you don't falsely attribute them to Gandhi.
Yeah. You know what? Andrew's right. We should live. We should laugh. We should love.
All right, Karen.
But yeah, like I mean, going back to like
Ryan,
just,
I'd like to speak with your manager now.
like doing like why not just do the right thing? I mean, like instead of doing the thing that'll get you the most money or the most impact.
Well, yeah, I
like,
mean,
it's
maybe the most clicks will be to do a really, really offensive video about offensive
Yeah,
guitar
totally.
pedals.
But like if Steve and I from the beginning wanted to have a more successful podcast or YouTube channel, we could have just been like classic rock review culture stuff, like, oh, let's talk about top Jimi Hendrix guitars or whatever, like just lean into that whole like old school mentality, and it probably would have resulted in a lot more subscribers and a lot more clicks and a more general audience, and we could have done videos that are like, you know, top 10 lists or whatever of,
Well, it's a lot
you
less
know,
effort because you really only have to know your pentatonic scales.
but that's all I know anyways. But it's like, but then we have to do a show that's not true to our interests and not, and it would have been way less sustainable for us. It would have been more sustainable as a business, but way less sustainable in, you know, the soul of it and our energy and our interest in doing it, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, I know that we get a lot more clicks to our videos if I you know, just took my top off. A lot more clicks.
Yeah.
and
And I
underneath it
get
is
less,
armor.
and I get less clicks. It's just not fair.
Oh, it's misandry.
Yeah. White men really are just so persecuted these days. I can't.
The most persecuted.
Can I just,
Absolutely.
you know, and
They're
on that note,
persecuting them
like,
damn selves.
again, am I right?
Gosh.
I'm gonna bleep that.
I mean, and you know, like stuff in the comment section for the video, the episode that I just launched, when we hit that topic, like during the live comments of the premiere, like a half dozen people got super aggravated, super quick, and super aggressive.
Someone immediately said that you were, oh God, what did someone, like forced diversity, they said. Who
Yeah,
were
and then
you
someone's
talking
like,
about that?
yeah, like I feel like Steve and I had a really rational, like fair, like balanced kind of conversation about it. Like we weren't going like PC at all or anything like that. It was like literally just talking about it in the flattest terms possible. And the knee jerk reaction out of a group of 40 people watching this thing, like 4 or 5 of them, 10% of them just couldn't handle it. Like,
Yeah.
what is going on? Like,
Just calling
relax.
you soy boys?
I know for a fact that anyone who like accuses Steve and I of being, you know, effeminate or, you know, weak or like that wouldn't say that to our faces. Like, I'm not a violent person, but I do know that I'm like 6'3" and like 200 something pounds. Like, no one's gonna call me a soy boy to my face, but
Oh,
apparently it
absolutely not.
happens
I don't
online.
know. The flip side is I'm 5'6" and also 200 something pounds, so I might get called that to my face.
No, the soy
You
boy
get
thing
bowled
isn't
over. No,
about.
it's not about that.
It's
I'll
about
just sit
being.
on them.
It's a
Yeah, look it up.
yeah.
You'll still be against it, but look it
Thing
up.
is, like, I'm allergic to soy.
I don't like soy.
It makes me really sick. That's why I have an EpiPen.
I just don't like the texture. Honestly, it's not my thing.
Ugh, so nasty. Yeah, I don't either. Well, so my mother will feel very embarrassed, but my parents didn't know I had a soy allergy until I was in my 20s and finally got allergy tested after getting sick so many times after eating things.
Oh my
So,
god.
yeah, cherries and soy, I'm actually allergic to them. And I had some other reactions with other foods, but that is neither here nor there. But my parents, one, loved Chinese food and loved going out, and I would complain about the flavor. They just put soy sauce on it. It just tastes like salt. And so they were like having me eat the soy. I'm like, and I just stopped eating it because, like, I think,
It
yeah,
hurt.
it must have hurt. Like, I wouldn't, even when I was very, very little, I was picky about like vegetarian kind of food and Chinese food. And like, my parents would buy the soy cheese and they would get so mad
Oh my
when I
god.
would say that, you know, it just, like, I don't like it. Like, it just tastes like just like American cheese. Like, it's making me barf. I don't want it.
My tummy feels itchy.
Yeah. I think it's very good. I can't breathe real good. So yeah,
Well,
that explained a lot.
conversation
Yeah, it took a turn.
went on it.
I'm allergic to soy, I'm allergic to cherries, I'm allergic to misogyny.
Yeah. But you know, I mean, going back to like starting your own channels and growing your channels and stuff, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Curating an audience is a huge part of it. Like, that's been a huge part of 60 Cycle Hum is Steve and I curating an audience and just making life unbearable for people who don't belong, basically. Like,
Yeah.
and that's something I think a lot of people who are outside of being white men playing metal guitar on YouTube could focus on is don't worry about getting everyone, but worry about curating a very specific niche audience. And brands love that. They want to know that you have that
Yeah.
niche audience, and they'll come to you just for that. They don't want another,
They don't want the people
just
who are
another.
watching the things, like, they're already watching those things.
Exactly. And it's so much to compete against. Like, you work your
Yeah.
niche. Like, a niche is so important in this industry. If you have a niche, you don't need to have
Right.
huge numbers.
No, because you have different numbers.
Like, yeah, lean into it. You have a market that the brands haven't figured out how to advertise to, and they'll come to you to advertise to them. If you've got 3,000 people that they just can't get anywhere else,
Yeah.
they will pay you money to reach that.
I mean, yeah, this could probably different episode, but that's like what Andrew was touching on, like when we talk about like who are these events for? Because it seems like the purpose is everybody wants each other's followers, but then if you have everybody else's followers and they have your followers, then wouldn't a brand only need to advertise with one of you?
It's about
Yeah,
saturation. It's it's like, yeah, there's a lot of crossover between channels, but they know that means that their brand is going
10
to be
times.
seen
Yeah.
10 times across 15 channels versus 10
Mhm.
times on one
Yeah.
channel.
That's why
it's
Risk
brand
Groups
recognition.
advertise with both of us.
Yeah. Risk Groups has been advertising with a bunch of
Yeah,
people. Good for them.
I think I know the guy who runs it. Yeah, like
Oh,
I think I
You
knew
know, it's
him,
funny
but
you
I
say
don't think
that.
that he knew it was me. It's Ryan something, right?
I don't know. Steve did all the footwork on that
I'm
one.
pretty sure
But
it's
Oh
Ryan
yeah,
Burke,
that
right?
sounds right. That sounds right.
That's probably his name.
can't
No, it's
let
funny you
people
bring up
know I have
Risk
a side
Grips.
business.
It's funny you bring up Risk Grips because almost every episode I record, I end up like having something to fidget with in my hands. And today I just randomly grabbed one of the Risk Grips on my desk. I've been fidgeting
Nice.
with it
I
the
deliver
entire
those to
episode.
you in 2 trips. I screwed that
Yep.
one up. Yeah, but I think the guy who runs it's like a friend of a family friend, which is kind of funny. I'll look it up later. But yeah, that could be. I mean, that could be its own topic. But it's kind of late. I mean, it's the West Coast, so it's really not as late as it would be in other places.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a guest on the West Coast.
Yeah, totally. You got to do the Guitar Nerds recently, didn't you?
I did. That was really
Lucky.
great. Really great for us.
What time did you have to record that?
9 a.m. on Sunday morning.
That ain't too bad. Every time I've talked to them, they've been like, "Oh, we can't figure out the time and stuff like that." Hey, Guitar Nerds, why haven't you had me on?
Well,
Called out.
Calling you out right now.
I mean, I would jump.
Ryan, you don't do over the phone interviews.
I'm doing one right now.
On your show.
I'm saying they should have me on.
I would jump in and say that, like, come on, guys, why haven't you had me on the show too? But you should probably have Ryan on first. He's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Have us both on
At the same time.
Yeah.
Double the white men on your show.
Exactly. We're a different kind of white men, though. We're American white men, and that's
Speaking of saturation.
Oh, but all right. Well, thanks so much for being on, Ryan. Is there anything you're working on you might want to shout out?
This is your chance.
Well, I mean, when is this going to air? What's your published date?
Tuesday morning.
Okay, go watch the new demo that I have up. I'm going to spoil it to you guys. I'm going to ruin my NDA here because we're recording Sunday night. It launches tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Walrus Audio has their new boost out that I did a demo for.
Nice.
And it's a remake of the last one that was #canceled. So go check it out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's got some new features. It's got presets in it, so it's better.
Oh, that sounds better.
I am so excited.
That's awesome. I'm not going to be able to sleep.
You can't wait for 7 a.m. tomorrow to watch.
I can't wait.
Watch all 40 demos of a Walrus pedal.
Walrus.
Of a boost.
Cool.
At that.
Cool. I got women. Hit me up.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Colt. Yeah. have Emily demo something. He will.
Oh,
He'll have you do it.
all right. I'll try. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks again, Ryan. This is really last minute, but also really fun, and I'm glad we got to talk about these things one-on-one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, two-on-one.
Well, one on one.
One-on-one-on-one. We got ones
I
on
don't
ones
want him
on
to feel
ones
like we
on ones
ganged
on
up on him.
ones. Yes, we didn't.
You guys
Boots
really,
and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats.
you guys really ganged up on me here. You really took me to school
Yeah,
on
just
my
really.
poisonous ideas.
Soy boys. All the soy boys and all the soy girls. I'm gonna write a song later.
All right,
All right,
I think I think I think we I think that's
the
enough.
edibles
I think.
kicked in. I'm sorry, guys.
My
Well,
Well,
gosh.
this has been the Get Offset podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for understanding. Leave us a review on iTunes, please. Once again, I'm Emily.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Ryan.
Goodbye.
Bye.
1, 2,
Later.
3,